Hi everyone. Okay, so we're into the module where we don't really have a whole lot of readings to do other than the PowerPoints, and then in terms of lecture materials, have just a few short videos related to those PowerPoints. So this one's related to PowerPoint 3, and you're probably have probably looked at that already. It's a rather long PowerPoint. I'm just going to be discussing the part where we talk about preparing or doing your analysis for your presentations. That PowerPoint also talks about persuasive techniques, research and interviewing, organizing your information, doing introductions and conclusions, and outlining your presentation. But let's talk just about the preparing part, getting that presentation together. So the first thing you want to do is analyze the context for your presentation. What are you trying to do? Determine your purpose, analyze the audience, then look at the learning styles for your audience. Then examine some of the external cultural influences, and then the physical context. So let's first talk about the purpose of your speech. The purpose of your speech is usually to inform your audience. Sometimes you want to persuade your audience. Sometimes, even in business presentations, you also want to entertain your audience. I know that sounds strange, but you can be entertaining without coming off as a goofball or a comedian. But sometimes we do all three of these things together. We inform, we persuade, and we entertain all at the same time. The next thing you want to do is analyze your purpose. What is the one thing you want to accomplish with your presentation? Now, in this case, you're obviously creating a presentation based off a memo that you formed, a recommendation report. It's also important to know, what does your audience know about this topic already? If you're presenting this to a bunch of CEOs or C-suite people or a president of a company, then they might know a little bit more about the topic than, say, somebody out in the public. It's going to depend on who your audience is and what their level is within the company. What purpose does the audience have for the information in your presentation? How will they use that information? Are you expecting them to act on it? So what's the purpose that the audience has for your topic? And then what purpose is appropriate for the speaking occasion? Now, in this case, we're talking about a business presentation, so it's a business setting. There's an expectation that your audience is going to use that information to advance the company or make some decisions about the company. So that's really important. But depending on the speaking occasion, I mean, your purpose could vary. For example, if you're speaking at a funeral or at a wedding, obviously your purpose is going to be much, much different than it would be if you're in a boardroom. Analyze the audience. To do that, you want to do three things. One is to do a demographic analysis, age, sex, gender, race and ethnicity, socioeconomic status, educational background. You also want to do some geography analyses too. Where are they living? Where are they from? Next, do a value and attitude analysis if you can. How much does the audience know? How much do they know about the topic? This is also kind of related to the purpose of your topic. How does the audience feel about your topic? Are they generally predisposed to be positive towards the topic, or do you think they might have a negative impact or a negative view of your topic, or are they just out there? You just don't really know. You kind of need to know that. How does the audience feel about participating in whatever it is that you're advancing? Then the last thing you want to know is the size of the audience that you're speaking to. If you're speaking to, say, 30 people, that is a completely different approach than if you're speaking to, say, 300 or 3,000 people. So know the size of the audience, because with a group like 30 people, there's an expectation that you're going to kind of make eye contact with them and be in touch with them. But if you're speaking to a large group, 3,000 people, that expectation isn't there. You do more of like a scanning of the room. Next, you want to analyze their learning styles. We have lots of different kinds of learners. Auditory learners, people who can hear and learn from hearing. Visual learners, people who like to see and learn from reading and seeing things being done. Some of our best learning comes from kinesthetic learners or learning. That's that perception of sensing of the motion or weight or position of the body as the muscles and tendons and joints move. So, for example, actually putting something together. If you're a carpenter, for example, you might hammer a table together, or put a table together, but that feeling of actually doing something, right? And it's very similar to how doctors are taught. First, doctors hear it, and then they see it, and then they do it. And then to kind of bring it all the way full circle is that they actually teach someone else how to do it. Next, you want to analyze the culture, and here it's not just about race and ethnicity. We're also looking at age and gender and socioeconomic and status and education, all those things that we were looking at when we were thinking about the values and attitudes of our audience. And again, we also want to look at geography. But remember that cultural membership is only a guide to helping us understand who people are and what they bring to the position and what they bring to that audience, that particular audience. And remember that audience could have a wide cultural background. Finally, analyze the physical context, your physical surroundings. What's the environment for your speech? Is it outside like this, or is it indoors? Probably if it's a business presentation, it's more than likely indoors. What impact will the environment have on the speech? I don't know if you know this or not, but my dogs are actually walking around out here outside, and they keep moving my ladder as I'm talking to you. And I don't know if you can hear this too, but there's actually gunshots going off in the background. It's not a bad thing. There's actually a shooting range back here somewhere. So, what parts of the environment can I control? Well, if I really wanted to control this, I could probably put the dogs away and do this inside. But I thought it'd be a little bit nicer to be out here. But when you're going into a boardroom, for example, remember that you need to know how to adjust the lights, adjust the chairs, adjust the setting, adjust those things that are within your control. And then what parts of the environment will force you to adapt your speech? If you don't have a microphone, but it's a large room, you might need to talk a little bit louder, or else you're going to need to get access to a microphone, some kind of PA equipment. Finally, look at time, too. Time actually plays into the physical context, but how much time have you been given to speak? And that will allow you to work the room a little bit better and kind of get an idea of what the expectations are of the audience. So that's a little bit about PowerPoint 3 and preparing your business presentation. I kind of hope this helps you get through it. Thanks.